new mystery emerges in the Mariana Trench as scientists detect something below 11 kilometers.
The unclaimed depths. New mystery. Emerges 11 kilometers down in the Mariana Trench. What if I told you something mechanical just started moving at the bottom of the Mariana Trench and it's still moving right now? No sub, no signal, no explanation. Just a rhythmic, calculated march through Earth's deepest, deadliest black. Then came the lights, the sounds, and a heat plume that matched a signal no one claimed. What kind of feature is operating down there? You get a whole lot of questions when you find this one spectacular reading. But here is the part that is keeping scientists up at night. Something answered back. What is waking up 11 kilometers below sea level? It's a big surprise. All of a sudden, we've got scientists saying, "Why is that?" The first sign? Something was moving where nothing should move, the closest thing to another planet. If you want to talk about a place that refuses to give up its secrets, the Mariana Trench is it. The deepest point on Earth, a black void nearly 11,000 meters down. It's so deep Mount Everest could sit inside it with room to spare. Down there, the pressure is not just intense, it's apocalyptic. Every square inch of your body is crushed by the weight of about 90 elephants. Temperatures hover just above freezing. Light? Zero. Sound? Practically none. It is the closest thing on Earth to being on another planet. And that is exactly why what happened next freaked scientists out. Mechanical movement in the abyss late in 2024, a set of passive seafloor sensors, quiet little instruments buried in the mud by Japan's JAMSTEC agency to monitor tectonic activity, picked up something they were never designed to catch. Not a quake, not a vent eruption, not a landslide. Movement, mechanical movement. The first warning sign wasn't visual. It was a weird vibration pattern, a rhythmic tick, tick, tick that echoed through the sediment like the pulse of something alive. Except, nothing alive down there moves in perfect intervals. Then the water flow shifted. Current disruption. But here is the thing, currents do not stop and restart in crisp, machine-like pulses. They swirl, they drift, they meander. This thing didn't drift, it marched. A 10-meter-wide disturbance pushing aside the mud with uniform pressure, traveling in a straight line for nearly 12 minutes before pausing, then doing it again. The sensors practically screamed, "There is something down here with purpose." The unclaimed vessel, you know what the weirdest part is? No vessel was anywhere near the trench that week. No AA cross-checked ship traffic, nothing. Satellite AIS logs, empty. Even China's usually busy deep-sea research fleet was thousands of kilometers away. So if no one was there, what was? This is where the theories start getting wild. Theory 1. Biological Titan. Some oceanographers think it could be a previously unknown species, something huge, armored, and ancient. There are deep-sea creatures we still haven't discovered, including xenophyophores, the size of dinner, plates and amphipods that can survive pressure that would liquefy your bones. Could something evolve to tolerate 11,000 meters and move like a tank? Maybe. But then comes the fun fact that ruins that idea. Nothing biological moves with mathematically perfect pacing. Not sharks, not giant squid, not worms, not anything. Theory 2. Rogue robotics. Then you have the people who swear this is advanced robotics, possibly a deep-sea mining crawler China never admitted to building. Except the deepest Chinese crawler ever tested was the Haijing 5, which maxed out at 6,000 meters. Had it level pressured, the abyss would crush it into scrap metal in seconds. Others claim this is military hardware, a deep-sea cable cutter, a mobile trench sensor, something meant to hide, not to be found. But again, no country has admitted deploying anything at that depth, and the Challenger Deep is under constant international surveillance. You can't just sneak a robot down there like a submarine slipping through fog. Theory 3. Pre-modern relic. So then comes the theory nobody wants to say out loud. What if it wasn't from us? Not aliens, calm down. But pre-modern human technology we didn't know existed. Lost expeditions. Ancient cultures with metalwork abilities deeper than the textbooks admit. Sounds crazy, right? But so did the idea of microplastics raining down at the bottom of the ocean until scientists actually found them. So did the idea of giant squid until one washed up. The Mariana Trench has a way of embarrassing human certainty. But the biggest question still hangs in the dark. If something mechanical moved down there, did it stop? Because according to the next set of readings, it didn't. The robot they denied building just showed up on the wrong side of the planet. Project Mimir and the pi signal here is where things take a turn. Not long after the anomaly was first tracked, international ocean monitoring teams began asking a question that felt more like science fiction than science. What if the object crawling along the trench floor was built by someone who never announced it? Enter Project Mimir. You won't find much about it online unless you know what to look for. Mimir was the code name for an unconfirmed joint development between an unnamed Scandinavian AI lab and an East Asian defense contractor. Think MIT-level robotics meets military-grade secrecy. The goal? Build the first autonomous deep-sea crawler capable of staying submerged for over 6 months without a tether, human contact, or resurfacing. And according to a leak on a defense contractor forum, in early 2025, a prototype allegedly went missing during a pressure test off the coast of Taiwan. That same month, that mysterious mechanical motion showed up in the Mariana Trench. Coincidence? Here is the mindbender. The last ping from the missing Mimir prototype showed it descending past 8,000 meters before vanishing completely. That is below its rated depth limit. Engineers assumed it had imploded under pressure and was lost forever. But deep-sea currents don't behave randomly. They're heavily mapped, and that crawler couldn't have drifted to the trench without guidance. Something moved it, something powered it, or maybe it never failed at all. Maybe it adapted, and that is when the most chilling piece of data emerged. An autonomous hydrophone buoy operated by a private marine listening network near the Caroline Islands picked up a bizarre set of acoustic pulses near the trench floor. They weren't natural, they weren't Morse. But they repeated. And the intervals? Exactly 42 seconds apart. Each burst lasted 3.14 seconds. Yes, $314 pi. You're telling me that is a coincidence? Marine engineers analyzing the acoustic fingerprint said the pulses resembled low-energy drive mechanisms like propulsion cycles, but with no cavitation, no bubbles, no sound of exhaust or propellers. Just rhythmic clicks like a ticking clock, a machine, not a creature. And get this. After each pulse burst, the seafloor temperature rose by 1/10 of a degree Celsius. Just enough to hint at thermal propulsion or some kind of internal power source, something that is still active at the bottom of the trench. And yet, no country has claimed it. No recovery effort, no alert, no admission. Which brings us back to a question that gets asked in hushed tones at conferences and whispered through encrypted back channels. Did we build something we can no longer track? Or did someone else? Because whatever is down there hasn't stopped moving. And the deeper it goes, the closer it gets to something we have never dared touch. The lights that shouldn't exist. If you think this story has peaked, you are wrong, because next it starts heading up. The lights in the trench that shouldn't exist. Let's rewind for a moment. We already know something mechanical is moving in the deepest trench on Earth. But while analysts were obsessed with what was crawling, they missed a detail far stranger. Something was watching it. In early 2025, NOAA's Deep Discover program deployed a pair of deep-sea gliders near the Mariana Trench. These aren't flashy robots. They're slow, silent, winged torpedoes designed to drift for weeks, mapping temperature, current, and light. That last one, light, is crucial here because light doesn't exist in the Hadal zone. Not natural light. Nothing from the sun penetrates that far. Any light has to be made from a creature, a submersible, or artificial tech. And in late February, both gliders independently logged brief flashes of soft blue light in rhythmic patterns hundreds of meters apart, in sync. Now, pause and think about that. These gliders weren't on the same trajectory. They were kilometers apart, passing on opposite trench flanks. Yet both detected identical pulses, 6 flashes, then a pause, then 6 again. The sequence repeated 33 times over a 2-hour window. Blue light is the most common wavelength used in deep-sea robotics. It travels farthest in water, but it's also the most energy expensive for bioluminescent animals to generate. And here is the kicker. No known creature flashes in uniform, mirrored bursts across large distances. That level of coordination? That's designed behavior. So the question becomes, were these flashes a signal? Experts at the University of Tokyo tried to map the pulses. When plotted on a time-distance chart, the intervals matched standard binary code. They haven't cracked the full message yet, but the repetition of 01, 10 on $11 appeared over a dozen times. Some say it's a handshake sequence, a kind of activation or recognition protocol in machine communication. Others say it's nothing but noise. But then came the strangest twist. The flashes stopped the moment the trench crawler began to ascend, like someone or something was watching it until it moved. What is more disturbing? Marine data cables running parallel to the trench began recording minor packet delays, just milliseconds, but consistent during the light events. These cables don't just carry internet, they act as seismic and environmental sensors. Some of them have magnetometers, and 2 of those picked up localized magnetic anomalies in sync with the pulses. In short, light, data, and magnetism, all aligned. Here is a wild theory. Some researchers now speculate the crawler may not be alone, that it could be part of a network, a kind of deep-sea drone system built for silent surveillance, environmental monitoring, or worse. And if that is the case, someone has figured out how to build an underwater communication web in the most hostile environment on Earth, right under everyone's noses. Because here is the haunting part. There is no record of anyone turning these lights on. But they blinked, and they blinked in code. The sound that echoed from the void, just when researchers thought the light pulses were the strangest part of this trench mystery. Something else happened. Sound. On March 15, 2025, an underwater listening station near Guam picked up a low-frequency pulse coming from the direction of the Mariana Trench. That is not unusual in itself. Earthquakes, whale calls, and even ice movements create underwater rumbles all the time. But this one? It had a structure. The sound lasted just under 7 seconds, but within it was a repeating triplet rhythm. 2 low booms, then 1 sharper pulse. And then it echoed, not in a natural fading way, more like a controlled reverberation. It bounced off something solid, possibly something massive. Scientists fed the signal into spectrogram analysis software, and what came out wasn't just eerie. It was geometrically clean. No natural source, no animal vocalization, no tectonic movement produces such perfect waveforms. They named it the trench ring. At first, researchers thought maybe it was seismic activity misinterpreted as audio, but then it happened again and again. Over the course of 2 weeks, the trench ring was detected 9 more times, all from within a narrow band inside the Hadal zone, roughly 10,700 meters down. Want to hear the kicker? One of the returning deep-sea gliders, the same model that had recorded those blinking lights, picked up something else during one of the sound events. Slight pressure fluctuations consistent with the movement of something extremely large displacing water at depth. Not a submarine, not a known probe, something unaccounted for. And here is the goosebumps moment. An old NOAA recording from 1997 was reanalyzed using the new waveform signature. That recording, known among oceanographers as the bloop, had always been a curiosity, an ultra-low frequency sound recorded thousands of kilometers apart. Theories ranged from ice quakes to mythical sea beasts. But when overlaid with the trench ring's pattern, the pulse structure matched nearly exactly. So, either the same thing made both, or it has been down there all along. Some researchers are now entertaining a truly unsettling idea, that what we are hearing may not be a single machine, but a reactivating structure, something embedded in the seafloor, buried in marine snow and silt, now slowly coming online. Dr. Gavin Romani from the Oceanic Anomalies Lab puts it bluntly. If this is a signal, it's not random. It's timed, controlled, and possibly intelligent. Others whisper even weirder possibilities. A sunken Cold War device finally waking up, a deep-sea sentry designed to monitor movement, or worse, a system that isn't ours at all. The satellite shadow in April 2025, just weeks after the trench ring pulses were last detected, something even stranger happened. Not under the ocean, but above it. A commercial Earth imaging satellite from a European company, one typically used for climate data and sea surface analytics, flagged a glitch in its daily Pacific scan. The image showed a faint heat signature anomaly just above the Mariana Trench, barely noticeable, a soft circular distortion roughly 100 meters wide, lasting under 11 seconds before disappearing mid-sweep. Initially, analysts thought it was a sensor error. After all, satellites malfunction all the time, but this wasn't an imaging sensor. It was an infrared and thermal band anomaly. And worse, when compared to past scans at the same location, this wasn't the first time it happened. In fact, a similar anomaly occurred in June 2024, January 2023, and once before, in 2019, all above the exact same coordinates. The data was quietly passed to a civilian research group in the Netherlands, who compared it to oceanographic maps and deep-sea movement logs. Their conclusion: the heat source appeared to be originating from below, not from the atmosphere or a ship, but from the ocean floor, bleeding up through nearly 11 kilometers of freezing seawater, only visible for moments when the ocean surface conditions were dead calm. Now, think about that. To generate a detectable heat plume that size through that much pressure in that short a time, you would need one of two things: a massive natural geological vent, which seismic maps have never recorded in that region, or a man-made or non-biological source of power radiating upward in a focused beam, a focused heat pulse in the middle of the Pacific Trench. That is not geothermal, that is deliberate. But here is the clincher. When one researcher ran the heat map through a frequency comparison filter, overlaying the signal timing of the trench ring pulses onto the satellite timestamps, something unthinkable appeared. The thermal bursts matched the sound pulses by minute and second. Let that sink in. The sound pulsed from the trench, the lights blinked in sync, and now the heat matches too. One senior analyst from the British Oceanic Reconnaissance Center, speaking anonymously, said, "Either someone is building something down there, or something was buried and now it's starting to wake up." It would be easy to dismiss this as internet fiction if not for one detail. 3 countries, China, the United States, and Japan, all redirected deep-sea drones toward the trench in the following week. But not a single one has released footage, data, or a statement. Not one. And for the first time since Challenger Deep was discovered, every public exploration feed went dark. So what is happening 11 kilometers down that triggered multiple governments, left coded light in the black, echoed mechanical footsteps, pulsed heat into space, and maybe, just maybe, set off a signal chain? The Earth's crust replies. You might think that is the end of the story, but there is one last detail no one expected, because now something is responding from beneath the seafloor. You remember the blinking lights, the coded pulses in binary, the unexplained trench movement that matched no known submersible? Well, as of May 2025, something answered back, but not how you would think. Here is what happened. Roughly a month after the last infrared plume was detected from orbit, a French acoustic array known as CHAOS, Channel Hydroacoustic Observatory System, flagged an irregular pattern of ultra-low frequency vibrations. Not from the trench this time, but from nearly 800 kilometers away off the coast of Papua New Guinea. At first glance, it looked like a minor quake. But here is what stopped analysts cold. The duration of the vibration was identical to the pulses heard in the trench ring events. 7 seconds. Not close. Exact. And those same triplet pulses? They were embedded in the signature, except they were in reverse. Now hold on, you're telling me a quake hundreds of kilometers from the original site suddenly mirrors the exact rhythmic pattern of a sound event from the deepest place on Earth, but played backward? Dr. Evie Grant from the Oceanic Signal Intelligence Task Force, yes, that is a real thing, said something jaw-dropping during a closed lecture at the University of Edinburgh. This isn't a feedback loop. It's a language of tension. It's not noise. It's waiting for input and replying. What does that mean? It means something heard what happened in the Mariana Trench. And now it is speaking back, not with light, not with heat, but through the Earth's crust itself. And here's where it gets really weird. 1 week after that reverse pulse event, a drone probe launched silently by China's unmanned Dragonfish program lost all contact exactly 12 minutes after reaching 10,600 meters. No error codes, no implosion alerts, just silence. But 3 days later, another research station in Guam picked up a short burst of data from the trench, a compressed packet encrypted. But here is what leaked through the checksum header, a string of numbers repeating 3 times, $11, 0619 14. The first assumption was a timestamp. But there is a problem. It hasn't happened yet. June 19, 2025. That is still in the future. So what is it? A predicted event? A time window? A warning? Some say it might be a coordinate. Some say it is just noise. But digital forensic analysts confirmed the data was structured, not corrupted, which means it came from a system, something with intent. And if that is what it is, then we are not alone in this. We are in a dialogue with something that lives in the pressure, something that has been silent for centuries, until now.